Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Maria Ibarra. I'm the Business Services Manager overseeing the Small Business Unit here at Caltrans District 11. I'd like to welcome everyone to day 2 of our 17th Annual Procurement and Resource Fair, brought to you again virtually this year. So day 2 of the fair focuses primarily on construction and A&E, with the emphasis on construction in the morning session and then A&E in the afternoon session. So in this session this afternoon, we have the pleasure of having our district's A&E manager give us an overview of the district's A&E program. And then we will have our district small business liaison show us how to navigate the contractor's corner to find those A&E opportunities. And lastly, but not least, we will introduce you to some of our A&E primes with guest panelists from Kimley-Horn, Jacobs, Kleinfelder, and AECOM. But before we jump right into the agenda, I'd like to introduce you to the Chief Deputy of District 11, Everett Townsend, to give the opening remarks. Welcome, Everett.
Good afternoon, everyone. Maria, thank you for the opportunity to say a few words to the members of our small business community. I'm excited to welcome you all to Day 2's second session of Caltrans District 11's 17th Annual Procurement and Resource Fair. The intent of this annual fair was originally designed to help the small business community learn about the processes and procurement opportunities the district holds to increase the utilization of small business and in our district procurement efforts. This year, the small business team has expanded this event to not only apply to the commodities and service-related industries, but to include construction and architectural and engineering firms as well. This current session focuses primarily on A&E, architectural and engineering. All of you, no matter what your industry you are part of, serves a vital role in Caltrans's mission to provide a safe and reliable transportation network that serves all people and respects the environment. If you are a registered nurse, you can contribute to Caltrans's mission by administering hepatitis inoculation shots in San Diego County. If you're a service vendor, you can repair and maintain electric and manual doors for several Caltrans facilities throughout the district. As a general contractor or subcontractor, you can participate in major construction projects such as placing continuously reinforced concrete pavement, hot mix asphalt, Midwest guardrail system, and a water pollution control system near Alpine. If you are a consultant, you can consult, conduct research, provide professional and technical services required for air quality studies. And even as simple as being a member of the public by picking up trash along the roadsides and exercising safe driving habits such as paying attention to road conditions and signs, driving within the speed limits, and avoiding distractions, you are contributing overall to our overall mission. Caltrans this year, earlier this year, that is, Caltrans Director Tokso Mashakin announced the official launch of the 2020-2024 Caltrans Strategic Plan, which includes an equity statement with action plans to achieve commitments on the 4 Ps: people, programs and projects, partnerships, and planet. The equity statement essentially acknowledges that underserved communities and communities of color experience fewer benefits and larger negative impacts associated with our state's transportation system. As the people of this community, we can effectively join our efforts in partnerships through projects such as the ones I've mentioned previously, and accomplish this mission to provide a safe and reliable transportation network that serves all people and respects the environment. These projects I mentioned are in fact all active or upcoming opportunities within our district. And I know you saw that in the chat, we had a few links there. There's so many pieces to this puzzle to be able to see the bigger picture. So grab a piece and let's make this vision come to life, make it a reality. By participating in this event, you've already taken the first step to learn about the opportunities Caltrans and its partners have to offer. By getting certified, You take Caltrans one step closer to further diversifying the participation on projects we put out into our communities. Caltrans will continually keep taking those steps to provide outreach events for the community, so long as you, as the community, continue to attend these events. So together we can connect by creating partnerships to make those projects happen. So once again, I thank every one of you for participating in this event. I'll now turn you back over to Eric Ocampo, our A&E manager for Program Project Management, to give you all a brief overview of our district's A&E program and what opportunities we may have here in the district for your firms. Thank you.
Thank you, Everett. Can everybody hear me okay? Thumbs up?
Yes.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of Caltrans Procurement Fair. I'm Eric Ocampo, the A&E manager for Caltrans District 11. My unit, the Consultant Services Unit, and I are responsible for procuring and managing our architectural and engineering contracts here in District 11. Some of my group's responsibilities include managing the capital A&E allocation, overseeing and tracking our DBE commitments, reviewing task order requests, tracking progress payments, ensuring record management guidelines are met. But all things considered, my unit's most important function is to provide support to all contract managers, task order managers, and our consultant teams. Next slide, please. So I'm here to talk about some contracting opportunities with District 11. We are currently considering 3 support services on-call contracts, one of them being for air quality studies, the other one for cost estimating support services, and the last one, value analysis services. You can go to our website, which is our CSU website, and has been added to the chat box below. This site provides you access to a variety of information, including the look-ahead report. The look-ahead report contains the most up-to-date contracting advertisements in the state of California. Please note that once you reach this particular site, you're going to want to toggle through and filter for District 11 A&E on-call contracting opportunities, as this contains numerous contracts that are coming up in the state of California. And please note that in this particular site as well, you can find very important information regarding the A&E process. And I highly encourage everybody to log on and familiarize yourself with its content. Next slide, please. Oh, no, I'm sorry, previous, yes. Okay, so this next slide is our Calamentor program. In our webpage, District 11, one specific link that I wanted to highlight is obviously our Calamentor program. Our district, in collaboration with SANDAG, the City of San Diego, and the American Council of Engineering Companies, ACEC, have worked together to develop and implement this program. Our program is designed to encourage and support small businesses through voluntary partnerships with mid-sized to larger firms. And the program roughly runs in length in about 1 year, in which the Protege will schedule monthly meetings with its mentor, and then discuss business practices, marketing techniques, and overall just share business information. Our 2 prerequisites for participating as a Protege, we ask that your particular firm be A&E or environmental specifically. And we also ask that you have a local office here in San Diego or Imperial County. The reason being is that we found that this particular partnership and mentoring process is a little bit more easier if you have a local office in which the mentor and Protege can assist each other and meet quite often. And I'm happy to announce that our next Calamentor cycle is set to start on February 2022. We have our virtual kickoff event scheduled for December 1st, 2021. Please mark your calendars. in which speakers from Caltrans, Sandag, and the City of San Diego will be participating. Caltrans has received a lot of interest from many new prospective proteges and returning mentors as well. We are anticipating a very strong showing, and we're hoping for yet again another very successful program. If your firm is interested in participating, feel free to contact me for additional information. My email will be provided in the chat box below. Or visit our consultant services webpage as well on our District 11 Caltrans webpage. You'll find all of our Calamentor program documents there, and we would be happy to assist you. Next slide, please. So here is our Calamentor Flyer. I wanted to point out that it does again fall on Wednesday, December 1st. We have it scheduled from 9 to 10:30 a.m. And it's going to be virtually. We ask that you register for additional information by November 24th, 2021. Those links provided on the flyer, which will be distributed after today's event, will take you directly for additional information. Upon registration, we'll ask some brief questions regarding your firm. And after that, my staff and I will be able to send you some additional documentation about the program. If you are a prospective protege or returning mentor or even new mentor and are interested in upcoming sponsorships for the program, I would advise you to contact Clark Fernon. He's our AECOM representative on the Calamentor Steering Committee, and he should have additional answers for you regarding that particular aspect of our program. So that is it for me. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those now. Otherwise, back to you, Michelle.
So, Eric, I don't believe we have any questions at this time, but I did want to reiterate to the audience that we will be sharing a copy of this presentation as well as the recording of this session to everyone that's attending shortly after the conclusion of the fair. So you can access those links as well as in the chat. I believe Maria had just dropped them all in there right now. But thank you, Eric. And I would like to bring Alex back to the stage so that she can talk to all of us about how to find those opportunities using Contractors Corner. Hi, Alex.
Hi, thank you, Michelle. Okay, so where can you find those A&E opportunities? That would be Contractors Corner. So on this slide, once we switch it, thank you, Michelle. So on this slide is the direct link to Contractors Corner, and you can also use a search engine like Google and just type in Caltrans Contractors Corner, and it should be the first link that populates. So Caltrans has an electronic bidding process created to provide businesses such as yours flexibility, and the digital ID for project bids can be distributed across several machines. You'll be able to submit your project bids from any location of your choosing. Contractors Corner also gives you access to a wide array of resources, including major construction projects. And just as an FYI, all projects are advertised for 3 to 7 weeks, and bids can be submitted and resubmitted at any time prior to bid opening. So I'll walk you through several different tabs within Contractors Corner. Okay, so once you are in Contractors Corner, you would scroll down to the bottom of the page to see these links that are displayed on the slide. And under the General Information tab, you have access to a lot of great information, including the 2018 standard plans and standard specifications that can be found under the Construction Contract Standards link. If you click on the Business Enterprise Programs, DBE, DVBE, and SBE link, you will be directed to the Office of Civil Rights website, and on there you can find out more about small business as well as DBE certification. And DBE stands for Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, DVBE, Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise, and SBE, Small Business Enterprise. Advertised contracts for projects under 333,000, also known as minor Bs, as well as architectural and engineering contracts, can also be accessed through the last two highlighted links on this slide. Now, if your company is more interested in architecture and engineering opportunities, the link that is shown on this slide would be the most beneficial to you. And that link will bring you to the page displayed on this slide. And so two sections from this link that I'd like to highlight are the advertisements link as well as the A&E look ahead report. And so the advertisements link is going to lead you to all the currently advertised projects. From those links, you can find information including the bid number or event ID, the name of the project or event name, and the date of that the statement of qualifications are due. And so under the A&E Look Ahead report, you will have access to a frequently updated spreadsheet that gives you status updates of upcoming projects as they continue through the pipeline. And this is a great resource to bookmark to allow your company sufficient time to prepare a proposal in the event you wish to submit for a particular project. Keep in mind that the dates listed in the spreadsheet are projected dates and are subject to change. Now, if you scroll down further on the A&E page, you will find the Calamentor site, the program that Eric mentioned earlier. And so currently 9 of the 12 Caltrans districts have implemented a Calamentor program that is designed to encourage and support small businesses through voluntary partnerships with mid-size and larger firms. Specifically, the program aims to increase the participation of small architectural and engineering firms in public transportation projects. As mentioned by Eric, District 11 is getting ready to launch another cycle. So again, if you are interested in participating, please reach out to Eric for more information on that. All right, so Maisel, do we have any questions?
You got lucky. There are no questions at this time.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and shift gears by taking this time to meet our A&E primes. Today we have the pleasure of hearing from Kimley-Horn, Jacobs, Kleinfelder, and AECOM. Welcome, everyone. We'll go ahead and get everybody to the stage.
Hi, Alex. This is Eric. I just received notice from Hanny from Jacobs that his internet went down, so he's experiencing technical difficulties. I'm not quite sure if he's going to be able to get things up and running once more, but I just thought I'd give you a heads up.
Okay, thank you so much, Eric. We'll go ahead. If we see him pop in, we'll add him to our panel. Okay, so I wanted to start by having everyone go ahead and introduce themselves and describe your role within the company. If we could have everyone turn their cameras on so that way we could see you guys. Perfect. And Dennis, we can go ahead and start with you if you'd like to introduce yourself and then let us know what your role is in your company.
Sure. My name's Dennis Landau. I work for Kimley-Horn and Associates. My role in the company is principal. I also manage large on-call contracts such as the Caltrans A&E contract. I also lead the Calamentor program for our local office.
Perfect. Thank you. Rich?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rich Fitter. I'm a Deputy Area Manager for Kleinfelder Construction Services. I also serve as project manager for many of our on-call CM contracts, including those with Caltrans District 11, Sandag, County of San Diego, and City of San Diego. Also currently serving as the facilitator for the San Diego County Building Better Roads working group for the past 2.5 years. And that group focuses on identifying innovative and cost-effective ways to improve the quality of our roads. So nice to meet y'all.
Great, thank you for being here. Since we're on Kleinfelder, Caribia, are you with us?
Yes, I am. My video is not working. So my
Okay.
name is Caribia Balarjan, and I also work at Kleinfelder. I am in the design services sector. I am a project manager in the Transportation Bridge Civil Design team in our downtown San Diego office. And the types of projects that I typically work on are based in Southern California, very, very Southern California, and in Mexico. I am bilingual, so I get those jobs. It's pretty fun. And for the past 3 cycles, I've led the Calamentor program for the Kleinfelder office for District 11.
Perfect, thank you. Yes, that's one of the things that makes this area unique, right? How we're binational and so close to a border. Steve, can we have you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Steve Fitzwilliam. I am a geotechnical engineer registered here in California. I am the geotechnical lead for our San Diego, Orange, and Los Angeles offices. That's all of our geotech down in Southern California. And I participated in the Calamentor program last year, which I think was a great program. It's a lot of one-on-one with individual firms. And I've been working mostly here in Southern California.
Great, thank you. And Terry.
Good afternoon. Terry Fenner with AECOM. I lead the environmental planning group and also actively involved in construction, a contract manager basically for our D11 environmental services on call, our Sandag environmental services on call. We also do quite a bit of work under the Sandag A&E. And then our planners and ologists also support our CM work for Sandag and other transportation agencies.
Great. Well, thank you all for being here. We're very excited to have you on our panel today. I would love for the audience to get an idea of what your firms do, a little bit about your firm, just so that they can familiarize themselves in case they don't know you yet. So let's go ahead and start with Steve, just to mix it up a little. Steve, can you tell us a little bit about AECOM and what exactly AECOM does?
Sure. AECOM, we are one of the largest architectural and engineering firms in the world. We have offices all over the world, plus all over the United States and in California. I think we have well over 2,000 people in California, employees. We do just about everything architectural and engineering. We have architects, we have civil engineers, environmental engineers like Terry. We do just about all the services, but not in every office. So we work with subs a lot for different kind of projects. And we work on both public and private sector clients. We work with Caltrans, as Terry mentioned before, but we also work with the other government agencies as well as the larger private companies. The only thing we don't really do is residential housing, but everything else we pretty much do.
Great. And Terry, did you want to add anything?
No, that's fine. That's great.
Okay, perfect. Rich and Caribia, want to tell us about Kleinfelder?
Sure, thank you. I'll get started. So I want to talk about Kleinfelder in the design services division, and Rich will tackle Kleinfelder construction services. So our company is a well-established leader in our industry. Our company does a very good job of embodying authority, responsibility, and accountability. These are the pillars that we use for our leadership and all levels of leadership internally. So we're very proud of that, and has made our company quite successful. So we're also full service A&E firm, not as big as AECOM. We've got about 2,500 employees, and our headquarters is in San Diego, in the downtown office where I work. We have offices throughout the US and parts of Canada and also parts of Australia. Our transportation group is multidisciplined and with a very strong presence in Southern California. And we are known for bridge, geotechnical, environmental, and materials testing services for our major clients. And additionally, we have a fully functional and growing civil group in our San Diego office. So very proud of that. Rich?
Yeah, thanks, Caribia. So Kleinfelder Construction Services, or KCS, is a wholly owned subsidiary of Kleinfelder, and we provide the full gamut of construction services and public relations and outreach services. We typically provide owner's rep, construction management, and inspection services for transportation, water, wastewater facilities, and energy projects throughout California. Our PR group does the full scope PR. They design grassroots outreach campaigns. They host neighborhood meetings, perform canvassing, and execute business outreach, special events, as well as conferences. So some of our current clients where we are a prime include, like I mentioned, Caltrans District 11, Sandag, County of San Diego, the cities of Chula Vista, Encinitas, Carlsbad, and San Diego, as well as other Southern California agencies like SBCTA and OCTA, to name a few. So thank you.
Perfect, thank you. And Dennis?
Yeah, Kimley-Horn's, I don't know, kind of a mid-firm after hearing about Kleinfelder and AECOM. We have 5,000 employees all over just the United States. We have 120 employees in San Diego. And our business is split 50% private, 50% public. I'm on the public side, and we just do design. And our clients are Caltrans, Sandag, cities like San Diego County. And we do work not only in San Diego, but in Riverside. And we're always looking for opportunities to have small businesses join our team, especially in the public sector.
Great, thank you. So now that we know a little bit more about each of your companies, I'd like to go ahead and ask more questions on how small businesses can actually work on projects with you. So one of the questions that I have is, does your company itself have pre-qualification requirements for subs wanting to work with your company? And we can start with Terry or Steve. Either one of you want to respond for AECOM?
I think I'm going to be responding to that. And I wasn't sure if you were able to make a slide out of the materials that we sent, or should we just have it sent after the meeting's over?
We can go ahead and provide it after the meeting is over.
That's great. So there's something that everybody will have access to, and AECOM is a big company. We have certain processes that we need to work with our subconsultants on. So there's the informal and the formal is one way to think about it. In the formal process, we do need the subs to be in our system in something called subport. And that's a system that actually all of our project managers, frankly, across the nation for sure, but particularly in California, we're looking at things, can look in that subport system and say, we can even search by types of work, and they can use it as their own internal database. But we also need to have that subport system complete because we ask people to fill out information about their firm in that. And we cannot contract with a sub until they are in that system and either approved or conditionally approved. We just can't execute a sub agreement. So we'll ask you for things like the general background of the firm, the business certifications, which is really important for things like, DBE proof, where you're certified, the state or CPUC or whatever entity, kind of typical insurance information, your health and safety plan. That's really one of the key areas that's very important to our clients and ourselves. And that's a focus that we ask for in that subport system. If you're a really small firm and that's not something you have at the ready, we can partner with you to help understand how we approach that and what can be done for that. Understanding any licenses that are applicable to what your firm does, a little bit of basic information about the W-9, those kinds of names for accountants, and then typically a quality plan in terms of the deliverable that you'd be providing for us. How do you ensure that you're achieving that quality so that we can know that we're partnering with you in that quality effort? And we can also work with you on that. If a real small firm may not have some of that handy, our teams can help you do that as well. So the material that we'll hand out afterwards gives a list of those things. And then we use that. It's held confidentially. It's not shared, to other competitors at all. It's managed as appropriate, and there's actually a privacy notice that you can look and understand. But we need to have that complete in order to do any contracting. It's good for 1 year in our system, and if something, at the end of a year, we'll just say, let's update and make sure everything's current, and we'll just ask people to do that annually over the course of the time. So that's an important part of our formal contracting and how to work with AECOM. And we're here to help you. There's an email link on there too that people can really be proactive and supporting you. It isn't meant to be an onerous hurdle to jump. It's really meant to get everything squared away in the system first, so that when the work comes in and a project comes up, those details are all taken care of and handled, and we can contract just more easily.
Perfect, thank you. And we were able to get it on the slide, but we'll also provide it after in case it's hard to see for anyone.
Okay, yeah.
Dennis, did you want to respond?
Sure. I mean, Kimley-Horn has no pre-qualification registration or anything like that. We go on a project by project basis, and we reach out to small businesses that we meet through events like this that have some capabilities that we need on the projects, or perhaps some relationships that they have on the project. So our pre-qualification is more on a project by project basis, and meeting and greeting and talking to people.
Great, and Kleinfelder?
Yeah, thanks. And so in the past, we had been more on Kimley-Horn's approach as far as a little more informal project by project, but we actually, it's kind of ironic, but we're moving into a pre-qualification system like AECOM, like Terry was just describing. It sounds very similar. It's called AVETA, A-V-E-T-T-A. They're literally just rolling it out now, so we're kind of in a transition through the end of the year. And I believe it's going to be the first of next year, it'll be a requirement. So, the purpose of VETA is to help us ensure that our subconsultants that they go through this pre-qualification review, and it includes a risk profile. Health and safety performance is a big aspect, insurance limits and other factors. It also helps us ensure to our clients that our team is meeting both the diversity and equity requirements of our clients too. So more to come on that. We're going through some training right now, but what I understand too, just with the little bit of training I've been through, is it can be a real benefit to the subconsultants that decide to be a quote preferred partner of Kleinfelder, meaning that they're registered through AVETA, because they are then visible to like 450 other organizations or primes that could be looking for work. And at least AVETA claims that, they see a lot of those subs getting other work just by signing up and being part of the system. So the other aspect as far as being a sub for Kleinfelder is prior to doing any work, you do have to complete an online pandemic response questionnaire. And that is something that it's not that hard. You go through and complete it online and answer questions. And it's basically making sure you have a pandemic response plan, obviously related to COVID-19, and that you have you understand the OSHA requirements and have the mitigation controls in place. And that gets reviewed by our project manager. And again, for all of this, for small businesses, we take the time to help if they have questions. With this, we kind of walk them through that and just make sure that there's, that everybody's following the right procedures. So that's our procedure at the time. And as we get more information, Alex, we can provide that as well.
Perfect, thank you. And then I see Hani has joined us with Jacobs. Hani, can you hear me? Okay, we'll go ahead and give him a little bit more. I'll move on to the next question. So how can a small business become a sub on a project? And we can start with Dennis, if you'd like.
Sure. Like we talked about, we really have an informal process. So what we want is to hear from each of the sub-consultants. Typically what we like is if a sub takes the initiative and contacts us first. So if there's a project that's advertised and they think they can help us deliver or be on a successful team, we want to hear from the sub. So that's something that we're always looking for, is kind of the initiative from them. In addition, we really like our relationships. So even before a project comes out, We kind of want to meet and greet sub-consultants just so that we get to know them, kind of understand what their strengths are and how they can help us. So again, it's a very informal project by project basis, and it's based on relationships and initiative.
Perfect, thank you. And Steve or Terry?
Yeah, I think I'd probably reiterate what Dennis just said. One of the biggest things is to get to know us so that we know who you are and build that relationship up at the beginning. So we're not scrambling at the end when the offer or when the opportunities come out to find people to team with. It's good if we know who you are and know what your capabilities are and know where to put you on our team, and we already think about you. And knowing what your DBE status or any of those also helps to know if we know this in advance, because when we're thinking about things, we do need teaming on a lot of projects. Like I said, we don't do everything. Like we do surveying in some places, but we don't do surveying in San Diego or Southern California. So we need different things, and we need to know that relationship. I think that's the biggest thing, unless Terry, you have other things to add.
Well, what I was going to add is that very often the contracts that we're working under are MSAs. And so it's important to be able to participate at the time the MSA teams are forming. So those are really key for subs to watch out for. And oftentimes getting on bench, this is more of a Sandag thing than a Caltrans thing, but getting on the Sandag bench, taking the time to be part of that system. And we do use that system. Sometimes we sort by services that can be done. We encourage teams that we work with to get on that bench. It gives them an opportunity to get exposure to other firms, but also helps us, prove to Sandag that we're using that bench and participating with the bench. So those are really important things to make sure that you're on those systems and that you're really visible to us and our clients. The connections are great, and these informal meet and greets, I'm always surprised. So I'll talk to someone I didn't know they work for that particular client. And it's really important when you work with us in one part of our practice, let's say you work on a utilities thing, parlay that into a project manager and say, I also want to maybe do more than utilities. I want to work on a transportation project. And maybe there's a way we can, use a small project to start to build that relationship. So yeah, being proactive is helpful. And also, if you've already worked on a particular project, like these guys were saying, be proactive and reach out because we know something else is coming up. But as many resources as you can be on is helpful to us and the clients.
Great. Karibia and Rich, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah. So our approach to planning for winning work way ahead of the RFP is set up in the 4 Ps that we use. And I want to mention we use these 4 Ps when we do the Calamentor program. We've got a spiffy little template that Rich and I like to show our proteges because it keeps everything in one place and it's a little systematic. And as engineers, we love checking boxes. So here we go. So it's the 4 Ps. I'm going to cover the first 2. Rich will take on the second 2. So it's plan, position, persuade, and perform. So first of all, we want to create a client marketing plan, and it could be simple or it could be complicated. I would start with something simple, like what you want to tackle as your marketing plan. And then from there, expand your contact network through various ways. I'll list them out shortly here. And then you want to execute client meetings. And to follow that, gather and share intelligence, and then you want to identify opportunities. That's just planning. So with this, you want to use your resources. So you can use integrated marketing system, the IMS, for opportunities that may come in the future. Sometimes projects have multi-phasing, so you can see if the environmental phase is coming out or it's already completed, and you can see what's coming up for design later on. You also want to do a Caltrans A&E look ahead report, and that's obviously from the Caltrans website. You also want to take a look at agency board meeting minutes. Those are very helpful to know what's completed, what's happening now, and what that agency is tackling in the future. And then you want to move on to participate in industry events like CMAA, WTS, ASCE, APWA, etc. You also definitely want to participate in the Calamentor program. And then finally, you want to tackle getting on the Sandag bench programs like our AECOM colleagues have addressed. So that could be for A&E, for CM, for planning, etc. And then after you finish your planning, sounds like a homework assignment, you move on to your positioning. So you want to build your pursuit team early. You want to identify and fill intelligence gaps where you see them. That's why it's important to have a plan. You want to develop a client value proposition so that the client you're tackling or you're basically trying to pursue, that they know that you have value added for their purposes, for their needs. And then you want to make go, no go decisions, because perhaps you don't want to tackle all these opportunities that that particular client has, right? And then to do this positioning, we like to implement something called a SPIN methodology. It's SPIN short. It stands for situation, problem, implication, and need or payoff. And this is a way to ask questions of your potential client. It's a very good tool. And then secondly, positioning should be done 6 to 12 months ahead of your RFP if you want to have a very good chance to getting that work. Rich?
Yeah, so with your, now that you've done a lot of that homework with your planning and positioning, now is the time you want to get into persuasion mode and basically be able to clearly communicate what your client value proposition is to your client, and you know what distinguishes your firm from others. What can you offer as a sub-consultant to help the prime secure a win? I mean, some of our sub-consultants that we utilize heavily are the ones that come to us with opportunities too. And that goes back to the initiative that Dennis was talking about, you know. So then the next phase is perform. And this would start at the proposal stage. You know, you need to be able to get your material in, make sure it's thorough and accurate and timely so that the prime can make a responsive proposal. And then once you win and are executing your work, just be a helpful sub-consultant. Get your invoicing in on time, your certified payroll, progress reports, maintain and submit your insurance certificates, be responsive to any requests for information from the prime, and occasionally check in with the prime for feedback. And if you can, work to obtain performance reviews. That's all going to help you, you know, win repeat work. So that's kind of an overview of you know, of the 4 Ps and how to win work with primes.
Great. I'm loving how thorough everyone's answers are. We're giving such great information to all of our small business community that is in the audience today. Now that we have an idea about, you know, pre-qualification requirements and how to become a sub on a project, what are some potential opportunities that are out there with your company in the near future? And Kleinfelder, we can start with you.
Sure. Okay, so we strongly recommend participation in the Caltrans Calamentor program for the reasons we stated. It's a great way to meet primes and obtain, I'm sorry, I'm actually answering the wrong question. You're asking specifically about upcoming opportunities. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm going to tackle the Kleinfelder services. So specifically, so right now we're on the SANDAC on-call A&E services, and we have multiple task order opportunities for that. Specifically for our design services, these are comprehensive and they are in 45 areas. I'll rattle off a couple of them just for interest. We've got some for transit guideway, railroad track design, some also TNR system engineering design. It's a little more specific, highway design, architectural building design, and interiors and traffic design, etc. The usual suspects that you would see, and if you want to see the full pared down list, it's on the SANDAG's website, or I could provide it via you, Alex. And then something else where we have a City of San Diego on call for water design services. I mean, my water colleagues are just down the hall from me, so we talk very often. So these are the two. This is like the third round of on-call that we have for the City of San Diego, and obviously it could be anything from waterways, channeling, service stations, towers, tanks, you name it, anything related to water. So that's what's coming up right now, what we have on the books. And then Rich, you want to chat about KCS?
Sure, thanks, Caribia. So KCS recently won a SANDAG on-call CM services contract, and so there will be task order opportunities coming from that new on-call. The core services, what they call core services, will be through subs on our team. but there is opportunity for us to draw from the SANDAG CM bench for specialized services. And those include things like surveying, stormwater, and trying to think other like building official services, PLA type stuff. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities, or there will be opportunities coming through SANDAG. Just an update on Caltrans District 11. We are a prime for 2 of the D11 on-call CM contracts, San Diego North and San Diego South. And we're about a year into a 3-year contract, so those would probably be recompeting in early 2023. And then other opportunities for KCS, we are growing in Northern California, our PMCM practice. And so we anticipate a lot of facility type of work for PMCM. This can include inspection, estimating, scheduling, and other surveying, materials testing, and scope of work like that for the Northern California area. That's it for us.
Great, thank you. Lots of opportunities. And Dennis, can you tell us about opportunities coming up for Kimley-Horn?
Yeah, sure. We have one of the on-call contracts with Caltrans. It's the north one, and it was just re-procured. So probably the next opportunity for us would be in a couple more years on the Caltrans on-call, which gives us a lot of time to develop relationships with the subconsultants. We also do a tremendous amount of on-call work, transportation related, with a lot of the local agencies in San Diego County. Some of them have a requirement for small businesses, especially local businesses, with the city of San Diego. And I know that we hold 3 on-call contracts with the city, and I know one of them will probably be updated and re-released next year sometime. So again, we're always interested in learning more about small business, especially small local businesses with the city of San Diego and other local agencies across the county. We also do a lot of work in Inland Empire as well as in like Riverside. So we do and know there's a lot of work coming out of SBCTA, out of Riverside, RCTC, RCTD. So we're also looking for opportunities for small businesses to join our teams up in Riverside County itself. So we see a lot of potential coming up next year for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Dennis. And AECOM?
I'll just start real quickly from the environmental side. Similar to the Kleinfelder comments, the SANDAG bench is one way that we just won the CM on call, reprocured that, although it's not fully executed. And then we don't, but that's where we have core services, and then we'll be using the bench for other specialized services. That's really a great tool. On D11, we about 8 or 9 months ago completed our environmental services on call, so that team is set. But there is a SANDAG environmental on-call that will be reprocured probably early in 2022. We have that contract now, but that will be coming up. And I know, maybe Steve, you want to add anything else? But those are the near-term things.
Yeah, the one thing that we're working on right now is the City of San Diego as-needed dams, SOQ. That one's due in a couple weeks. But we do also have a lot with here in Southern California with Orange County and LA offices. We have quite a bit of work with OCTA, the Army Corps, LA Department of Water and Power, different things like that. So we kind of move all the way up California, but I'm just talking about the Southern California ones where we do most of our work out of this office. And I know that we're still thinking about it, but there's a brand new one for LA Department of Water and Power for as needed services that we're looking at. So there's a lot of opportunities, and it's just getting to know who the subs are, and they know who we are, and kind of find out where we can get those matches. So that's it.
Great, thank you. So now I wanted to ask, based on your experience, what would you say is your best advice for a new company that's trying to work on Caltrans projects? And we can start with Terry, if you'd like.
Well, I think I was going to say some of the same things that Herbie was going to mention in terms of the Calamentor program is really an excellent way to get to build relationships and understand how maybe how Caltrans works. Any of the transportation clients can help you get more work in the transportation linear projects that then translates to Caltrans. I think sometimes it can be a catch-22 where it's hard to get a Caltrans job without having a Caltrans job. So, and I can appreciate that dilemma. So I really think sometimes you want to maybe do an end run around where you can maybe be involved in a sand egg job or a city of San Diego job that's a road job. So it's really about positioning with those, or the county or what other entity that you can use as a transportation entree to get into the Caltrans position. That would be, so the Calmentor, and then I think using any venue to get a transportation project under your belt is really a smart idea.
And one of the things I'd like to add is, just like we talked about, I think everybody talked about getting to know us, the A&E firms, get to know the people at Caltrans, because you'll get to understand how they do things, what they want, and you might find some opportunities that you can bring to us as well.
Great, thank you both. Good tips. Rich or Karibia, anything else you'd like to add? I know you touched on some best practices, but any others that you wanted to mention?
Hey, Rich, you want to tackle on? I would just want to add to what Terry had mentioned, just continue to participate in Meet the Primes and Meet the Subs events throughout the year for Caltrans. Just a good way to stay in touch, meet the local folks that are working on these projects. And yeah, Rich, maybe you can add on a couple of the other bullets that we had talked about.
Yeah, I mean, we had Calamentor on there. We won't repeat it, but it is worth repeating. So that's a great program. Review one thing we had was review some past or current Caltrans RFQs and become familiar with the scope of work, what the personnel qualification requirements are, and other contracting requirements that for the types of services you're considering proposing on. So I think that would be very helpful. There are specific qualification requirements that you need to have. And in hand with that, work to obtain some licenses and certifications for yourself or your staff to help bolster your credentials. And that could be, a PE, a CCM, QSD or PE, CWIs. More letters are better, and they'll help you fill more roles, at least on the CM side. And then for DBEs, make sure that you have the appropriate NACE codes for the type of A&E services that you're going to offer. That's going to make sure that your DBE participation qualifies for the contract and will help the prime meet any DBE goals.
Can I add one minor thing that's a procedural thing? Don't let your DBE or those things lapse, because what will happen is the RFP will come out and we'll be talking to a sub and we're like, great, okay, the RFP's out, let's finalize everything. And then for whatever reason, they won't have had that DBE certification active and current at the time of the RFP being issued. And you can't propose. It won't count towards that DBE. So really it's housekeeping, but it's really important.
Right, very important.
I'd like to reiterate that, because we're doing that right now on one of our proposals, and we had a couple subs that let it lapse, so it made a big difference in who we choose.
Good to know. Great tips to add. Dennis, anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I'll just be quick about it again too. It's man, I could go on and on and on this one, but I guess it's patience and persistence is what I would have. Crawl before you walk, walk before you run. It's a long game, and just keep that in mind. Couple of other pointers is really understand how Caltrans does business. Even if you're a subconsultant, that is so important. And it's just not design. It's also how Caltrans negotiates rates, right? It's also how Caltrans accepts invoices, things like that. So it's more than just the design. It's how Caltrans does their business. You really have to understand that to be successful within Caltrans. And again, it is a long haul. It's not a short haul. So you got to have your patience and persistence and just don't give up. Just keep going after it, because there is success at the end, but it's going to take a while to get there.
Great. Well, thank you all for providing such great information to our audience. I would love to open it up now to our attendees to go ahead and ask any questions. Maysel, do we have any questions from the audience?
They all have several questions, so be prepared. So this actually goes out to all the primes. So which disciplines does your firm typically subcontracts to smaller A&E firms?
And anyone feel free to jump in first if you want to put your hand up. And
Yeah, I can start. This is Rich with Kleinfelder. So we typically would subconsult out surveying, as well as, and I'll let Caribbean speak to the design side, but on the construction side, for construction staking and surveying, railroad signaling inspection, stormwater inspection, and other ones would be electrical traffic signal inspection and landscape inspection. So those are a few common ones that we would sub out.
Yeah, I'll add a few for design services that come to mind, and I'm mostly familiar with transportation specific subs that we typically acquire for DBE or SBEs on our teamings. It's also surveying. We do some hydraulics for sure, especially locally, since we have 3 or 4 firms that we rely on since they know the area so incredibly well. And then some other specialty environmental studies folks like paleo, some historical specialties, historical resourcing specialties, and outreach. There's a couple of local firms that we really like to work with, and they do a phenomenal job. Obviously, they know the area so well here in Southern California, so that works really well for our local agencies.
And just to quickly add that, you know, we look at each project and we'll sub out whatever we need to win the job and meet any DBE, SBE goals. So, you know, we often sub out a lot more than the list I just gave. It just depends on the project and who has the best, who can best help us win that project and perform the best services on that job.
But you stole my narrative.
Sorry.
Well, that's how we are too. And I just wanted to add is that we're also looking for a subconsultant that can do more than just one thing. So that gives us more flexibility to achieve any of the DBE or SBE and set aside goals. That kind of sometimes limits the number of teams that we have on our firms on our teams. But that's a lot for primes to manage too. So it doesn't mean that we only go with firms that have multiple disciplines on their resume, but it is kind of an advantage for us if we just can manage one firm that can do multiple things versus multiple firms that do one thing. But again, we're just looking at what is the best for our team to move forward and be successful at the very end.
I think we have very similar ideas as Kleinfelder and Kimley-Horn have. You know, recently I'm looking at one, we're looking for somebody to help with surveying and civil, so multi-firm, one firm doing multi things. But we're also looking for things like traffic control and traffic plans and waste disposal. So like if we did drilling and we have soil that we need to get rid of, we usually sub that out to somebody who can get rid of that. And I'm sure that Terry has some other environmental needs that we have.
Well, it's really the same approach. We could do most things in-house, but we really like to both bolster the depth of our staff, meet the DB requirements, and oftentimes, you know, a sub brings us a relationship or an expertise on that project, so we want to maximize that to win. Very often we sub out traffic, paleo, stormwater, and depending on the size of the project, sometimes we do different parts of bio, specialized bio, sometimes some of the phase 1 work, the hazard stuff. And then sometimes we do public outreach depending on how things flesh out. It really depends on the project, but those are the ones we more often than not sub out.
great, thank you, Maysel. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, so this is another question, I believe, for everyone. Does any of the firms also hire for project management trainers and consultants?
Well, from AECOM, we do some of that kind of stuff, but that's more from our corporate office. So I don't know that Terry and I have the connections with that. That would be our corporate office that would
And
probably.
I think that's primarily in-house trainers, because of
Most,
course there's our own complicated AECOM PM system and
yeah.
accounting finance system. Um,
Yeah, Kleinfelder has an internal, they call it project manager qualification system, and it's an internal process that potential PM goes through to learn project management skills and techniques and Kleinfelder specific system. Anyway, so I am not aware of us having that need. I don't know, Caribbean, if you're aware of us ever hiring a project manager trainer.
No, not specifically a trainer, but as I was going through the PMQS system that you just mentioned, Rich, it took a couple of years for me to go through all the modules. It's a lot of information, and a PM doesn't always see it in 1 year, right? As they're coming up. I did go to a boot camp for PSMJ. They did a great job kind of getting me warmed up for what lie ahead. And then eventually I had to go through our own internal system. But I believe PSMJ is a company that we've used in the past for just getting folks started with the program.
Yeah, Kimley-Horn has our own internal project management approach. We feel our firm's pretty unique and we keep it all internal.
Maisel, any other questions?
Yeah, so there was a similar one, but this was for subbing out for either subbing out or maybe hiring for staffing companies.
I have used that in the past. I haven't really used that much here at AECOM.
I've done some in the past, but not recently. And then there are some requirements for small and disadvantaged businesses with staffing too, that we just have to make sure if we do use staffing type of thing that your firm still qualifies for the SBE and DBE participation.
We haven't used too much recently, and again, similar to DBE and SBE that Dennis mentioned, we also, there's some challenges using staffing firms on projects where certified payroll is required, or anyway, so it presents some challenges. It can work for certain types of contracts, but maybe not for others. But we are currently engaged with one, but we haven't pulled the trigger on any staff yet because of some of those challenges that I'm talking about. It hasn't worked for the contracts where we actually need the staff at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a question directly for AECOM. So there's a company that is already working with AECOM in the Bay Area, but also has offices in SoCal. So how would they go about having opportunities down here?
Well, my thought there would be talk to the project manager you're working with up north and have them get a hold of somebody down here that does similar types of services, and we can get to meet you. That'd probably be the easiest way, because you get a reference of somebody that we know you, and you get referred by somebody who is in one of our other offices. We're going to be more inclined to try and sit down and meet with you. So see if that project manager can hook you up with somebody down here.
Okay,
Thank you.
So I also have another question that I believe is applied to everyone. Do any of your firms work with small businesses for overseas work?
Could you repeat that question over what?
For any, do you work with small business for work overseas? So outside of the US, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Kimley-Horn doesn't really do any work overseas.
Okay.
So AECOM definitely does some things overseas, but more often we're using, if it's a project in the UK or something that we're doing in Guam, we're oftentimes trying to find the local small businesses or the locals that are there in that location. Maybe that's something that a smaller, I don't know if that helps, but oftentimes we do work overseas, and often we're looking for that local firm that's there.
And Kleinfelder has operations in also in Guam as well as Australia. I think it's primarily environmental and some geotech GIS support for the mining, and Canada as well. Yeah, and I think our response would be similar to what Terry just mentioned, where we're probably utilizing the local firms, but it's something that we could look into if you have operations in those areas, so, or are interested in moving into those areas.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So we do also have another question from the audience asking each of you, is Caltrans your main source of public projects?
Well, I can start with that. Caltrans is not our main source. No, we work with a lot of different entities, and depending on the departments on whether we work with Caltrans at all. We do work with Caltrans, and they're probably about, I'd say, maybe 10% of our work in California at the most.
It does depend on the type of service we're doing too. I mean, I know in District 4, we do a lot of Caltrans work. In District 11, from the environmental side, we do a lot of Caltrans work. In other districts, we're not, unless we're doing it through other transportation agencies. So it really varies geographically and how much Caltrans work we do.
Yeah, I would say that Caltrans is an important client of ours, but it's not the only client that we have, especially in San Diego. As I mentioned, we do a lot of work with other public agencies, but the Caltrans work is very important to us.
For Kleinfelder, for our West Division, which includes California, I believe in Caribbean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Caltrans is our second largest client, and it is our largest public client. So we do work throughout the state on all different scopes of work, CM, design, geotech, environmental. So yeah, it would be our largest public client for the West.
Yeah, you're correct, Rich.
Okay.
But here locally, here in Southern California and the local counties, I'd say it's about 20% of our design work at the moment. The other public agencies that we're heavily involved with are up at North Riverside County, SBCTA, ICTC, and just a lot of small local agencies. I primarily work in the bridge design group, so we've got bridges all over the place, and they encompass pedestrians and roadways. So you can imagine all the various agencies that would request some retrofit, rehab, or replacement work.
All right, thank you. Another person wants to know if any of you primes normally subconsult with cost estimating firms.
I can start that. In design here, we do internal cost estimating. We have a very substantial historical data, and we are always currently using the Caltrans cost data system, and then also Rich being part of our very large and very successful CM group, we've got master cost estimators there too. So if we ever have to siphon any or get a second opinion, we would go through them. I believe in the past we have used this service outside of the company for very large contracts with large clients like ExxonMobil. I'm not involved with those disciplines, but I think outside of the California area that I work in, we potentially have in the past.
Yeah, and just real quick for CM, I mean, there are occasions, depending on the scope of work, where we would want to bring on a cost estimating firm. I know we just won a job with Napa Valley Transportation Authority in the Bay Area, and we did have a cost estimating firm on our team for that. So there are occasions for that.
It's the same with Kimley-Horn. It all depends upon the size of the project. Smaller projects, we tend to do our own cost estimating, but if it's a larger, complex project, yeah, then we bring on a cost estimator. And sometimes even with knowing how escalations happen in a marketplace too, we might bring on a cost estimator just to check to see if our escalation factors and things like that are good too, so that we can provide a client the best estimate possible. But usually I think, again, those are on the larger, more complicated projects.
From AECOM, it's similar. It's more on the larger projects. On the smaller ones, we tend to do it more in-house ourselves.
All right, thank you. So on a similar track, someone's asking if you consult or have opportunities for a CM, which I'm assuming is construction management, PM, and project controls.
Well, here at AECOM, we do have that. We have project-specific offices that we do most of our CM work with, and they're with the airport and with
Unified School
SDUSD.
District.
Yeah, SDUSD. And we don't have direct knowledge in our office where Terry and I work because we do interact with them a little bit, but they tend to be kind of separate entities, and so you'd probably have to talk to them directly.
I do know the airport's been looking for help as that project ramps up. And I think they are looking for things in project controls, I'm pretty sure. But I don't know how much they sub or try to just hire, to be honest. I don't know.
For PMCM, for Kleinfelder, we are growing in that area. I'm talking about for facility type work. So I definitely see there's going to be a lot of opportunities, especially in Northern California, some in Southern California. And then I think, was it project controls? We definitely have opportunities, whether it be on-call contracts or project specific contracts for project controls, including document control too.
And Kimley-Horn kind of shies away from any CM, PM type of effort. If there is a project that requires it, we will sub that out.
All right, thank you. So I do have another question, and it sounds like it's in regards to environmental testing. Does the decision of which lab to work with come down to the people within the environmental team within your firm, or would it be up to the folks on the transportation end, or both? This person's more curious about which team's lab he should be reached out to or reaching out to.
I think that's a tough question, is where you're getting a lot of silence. I think it kind of depends on kind of on the project and different things like that. You know, sometimes there might be some local lab that they might be able to do something the other labs can't, or they might be able to pick up samples or something like that. But it kind of depends on the project, I'd say.
We do have some procurement agreements though on certain purchasing. So there are some, I think some labs and some kind of first right of refusal agreements that procurement has made. I'm not as close to that, but I think some of the testing is tied to certain firms to start with.
And did I hear it correctly where did I hear environmental testing?
Yes, they, no.
I'm not talking about materials testing. I'm assuming it's
Environmental testing, yes.
I don't know, Caribia, if you have anything to weigh in on that or not.
No, unfortunately, I don't know too much about that. Typically, we would ask our lead for that specific discipline, but I don't have any projects right now that have that outsourcing.
That is perfectly fine. We don't expect you all to know all the answers. So if there are questions that we don't answer in today's session, you can submit those questions to the small business team, and then we'll do our research and do our due diligence to see how we can respond to those questions. but thank you for the attempt to answer that question. I do have another one in regards to bonding. Is that required with A&E firms, or if there's insurance that is required?
Well, insurance is definitely required, and a lot of times that's flow down from the prime contract. There are definitely insurance requirements. Bonding is not usually required for most of our projects unless there's construction involved. I mean, from the design or the environmental standpoint, there shouldn't be any bonding.
Yeah, same for Kleinfelder. We'd be looking at insurance requirements. And one thing on the insurance to look into, if you haven't already, is the cybersecurity requirements are changing and becoming more of a critical issue to our clients. And as was mentioned, that gets flowed down to us and to our subs as well. So anyway, but yeah, it's more on the insurance side, not bonding.
Yeah, it's the same thing with us. It's insurance side, but we do look at insurance flow down if we think the insurance amount is too much for what the subconsultant is actually doing. Then we typically would work with the subconsultant too on what we think is the more appropriate insurance level.
All right, thank you. So we have a firm that provides air quality monitoring solutions. Do any of you use such solutions for your environmental projects, or do you sub it out?
I'm not sure what they mean by air quality monitoring. If it's air quality calculations in terms of like a CEQA analysis, we do sometimes sub, we do mostly in-house. If it's monitoring, maybe something's under construction and they're doing some dust, maybe monitoring to make sure they meet certain levels, that can be subbed out. Although oftentimes we do that in concert with other compliance measures, making sure that they're, kind of within the mitigation requirements. So I'm maybe a little unclear on what they mean by that.
Sure. I would probably advise the person that asked that question. You can either re-ask your question to the small business team, or if you wanted to reach out to our panelists today directly, if there's a specific firm you're looking at, we do have their contact information on this screen as well. Did anyone else want to make an attempt to that question, or should I ask?
I'll just add that similar to what Terry said, Eric Kleinfelder has full service environmental capabilities now, and especially with the acquisition of Ganda over a year ago. So we probably do most of that in-house, but it goes back to the project, and I think there could be opportunities for either of those types of air quality services on a project. So I'd say there are potential opportunities on project-specific basis.
Yeah, it's the same with Kimley-Horn on a CEQA side. If it's out in construction, then that's something we don't deal with. If it's a CEQA, then we have that ability in-house, but we're not opposed to subbing that out if it's right.
All right, thank you. There is a firm that does specific design regarding design aspects of a project. So this might be more geared towards Caribbean. Such projects and stormwater solutions, are they, I'm sorry, let me reread this. What is the best way to work with the firms regarding the design aspect of a project, such as products and stormwater solutions in the project design?
Sure, I can answer that. So stormwater is one of those specialties that we have subbed out in the past. So it comes at the teaming opportunity level, right? And we have had a couple projects where sort of midway through the project, something happened where the specialty or the person that was assigned to that specialty or the firm or the discipline weren't able to fulfill that role, and we had to grab our list of sub-consultants that we worked on within the past and start making sole sourcing calls for that service. So it's either as needed urgent, or ideally if a project's coming out and we have been positioning ourselves for it and we know it's going to be a heavy stormwater type of project where, you know, the design's necessary up front and we know it, we plan ahead for it. And if it has a high DB goal, like for example, a local agency project, a state project, or some that are federally funded as well have some goals like that, we would plan for it and identify whether that is something we would need a sub-consultant ahead of the game in the planning phase. But we've done both, and we do have those opportunities more often than not. We do the work in-house, and we have for the past maybe 5, 6, 7 years. But you know, we can't have all our staffing working on these jobs, especially when they're in design in parallel, right? Every now and then we'll have some staffing issues, so it's definitely up for an opportunity.
All right, great. Was there anyone else that wanted to add to that? All right, I guess you mastered that question, Kirvia. So let's, we're gonna ask, I'm sorry. There is a firm that provides air quality monitoring systems, specifically sensors and cloud apps. Do you use such solutions for your environmental projects, or do you sub it out? And I believe that's going to all the primes.
I was just going to say that those kinds of, it looks like maybe routine monitoring or stationary monitors that are installed really depends on the site. We do have air quality monitoring staff that maybe work in an industrial location or, and then we'll oftentimes do that in-house, but during construction, especially if it's a big project or a busy project, that might be something we do sub. That's not something that our group tends to do in the environmental planning side. That tends to be in another kind of division of our kind of health and compliance group. And they tend to work more with oftentimes industrial clients, you know, bigger warehouses, sometimes with military, a lot of times with the military clients, not necessarily with a Caltrans or a Sandag in that space. That's our experience in that.
Anyone else would like to add?
Yeah, we would sub that out.
I'd have to check with our environmental lead for that. I don't know the answer unless you do, Caribbean.
Not specific answer, but I've had 2 projects where we've had another environmental company that's not Kleinfelder as our lead environmental firm, and they sub out that work specifically. I'll name their names and do free PR for them. It was ICF and LSA. They hired several separate companies to do that type of monitoring.
Thank you all for your input. I do have someone that's asking about any on-call A&E services. What typical scopes do you usually, I'm assuming, subcontract for those?
I think for the on-call A&E services, I think we talked about it a little bit before. Depending on the project and what the A&E services are for, we subcontract a lot of different things. So just for example, one of the ones we're working for the city of San Diego, we're subcontracting a little bit of civil, surveying, traffic control, hydraulics, and a lot of other things, and that's for a civil design A&E contract. So we depends on what it is. I think it's very similar. It depends on what our needs are and the specific contract. We do sub a lot of that out.
And also is what the client's looking for too, right? So like on Caltrans, they have specifics on what they want us to do on the on-call. So we have to develop a team for those specifics. So it could be, you know, roadway design, it could be drainage, it could be different things. Or you know, like on Caltrans, survey and geotechnical is not part of the on-call. So we have to kind of adjust to what our client is asking us to do as well.
On the CM side, for an on-call, we're typically putting together big teams to have a lot of redundancy to make sure we can handle any spikes in the client's workload. So we're pretty much subbing all the scope for a CM contract. That could be roadway inspection, office engineering, landscape, electrical, materials testing. So yeah, we pretty much, all the scope is subject to be subbed out, and to just so we have redundancy in our team.
And similarly for design, with our on-calls, and specifically I want to talk about the SANDAG one. I have a list here, about 5 or 6 disciplines that we would sub out. We would think it's forensic engineering, coastal and railroad model, or coastal engineering, railroad modeling, some surveying, service life modeling, and section 4F evaluations, for example. So hydraulics, hydrology, and permits and noticing too is one that's on my list, and utilities, whether coordination or something more involved like QA/QC.
All right, thank you, everyone. Does any of your companies submit unsolicited proposals?
I think, I don't know if it's really, you'd call it an unsolicited proposal, but we do talk with some of our clients, and if we find a need that we think that they may have, we may talk to them about it and kind of help them come to a decision on whether they want to submit come up with that need. And so it's not really just submitting the proposal, it's more talking with the client on something we feel that they may need.
Well, or more the fact that we understand that they're looking for a solution, and we try to be proactive and offer that to them, right? Every good consultant does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we submitted 1 or 2, but it's more on the technology side versus the engineering side. That's something like you guys mentioned, something that we don't usually do on the design side. We just work with our clients.
I'm not aware of any for Kleinfelder. There may be some, but I think it's rare.
All right, thank you. I do have, I believe, one last question here, and it goes back to the bonding. Is there bonding requirements for construction consulting? Because there seems to be some confusion with bonding and construction consulting professional services.
I'm not aware of any bonding requirements for what we would call construction management, owner's rep, quality assurance, CM services. It's just the insurance requirements. So I'm not sure if they're referring to a different type of construction services, but for CM owner's rep, I would say we don't have bonding requirements. I don't know if AECOM or Dennis, I guess AECOM has a different.
I've only seen one project that ever required bonding that I've been involved in, and it had to do with a construction project, and it was a restoration, habitat restoration component associated with a roadway construction. And I don't know what the unique contracts were, but it was the only one I've ever seen that required bonding. And as soon as the construction ended and it went into kind of post-construction habitat restoration, then the bonding requirements were dropped.
And I think the only time, yeah, I think the only time we ever end up with bonding is when we're doing a design build project. Otherwise, we don't deal with bonding at all.
Yeah, we don't deal with bonding at all either.
Thank you all for clarifying. I did have a couple more questions. One's directly to Kleinfelder. There's a sub that provides underground utility services that provides locating and potholing. How do you suggest they connect with you?
They can send me an email. We use this a lot. Almost every project has some utility cooties, I call them. And typically they're part of our design services to locate these, and we don't do actual locating at our company. It's not, at least locally here in California, that I'm aware that we have a discipline or a group who focuses on that. We do help the client. We don't do the design for them, but we help them get an idea of a best route for rerouting utilities. But undergrounding and locating is very important, especially when we know we have very old pipelines that nobody knows whether they're abandoned or not. They're just there. I would say half of the time that I've worked on my projects, I've actually had to call around for a utility locating company to assist our client or get a slightly separate contract going with the client directly to locate utilities they weren't aware of. So have them send me an email, please.
Yeah, we really push for those utilities to be located during design. And sometimes it doesn't happen, or sometimes it does, and there's just utilities, that we find that weren't known. So I agree with Caribia. It's more on the design side, but we do have occasion where we need utility location services out in the field too. So if you share it with Caribia, she can also share your information with me, and we can have you in mind for opportunities.
All right, thank you for that answer. Caribia's email is actually on the screen for that person that asked that question. Last and final question. I think there might be some confusion in this regard, just because I have someone asking about accessing subport, but they were asking the question directly to Rich. I wasn't sure, Rich, do you use subport also, or was just AECOM?
That was AECOM, and then we're going to be using a new system called Avetta, but I don't have anything to share right now, but I can share it once I get that information.
Okay, if this question was specifically for AECOM subport system, I do have the slide on the screen right now that has more information, which we'll also distribute to all the attendees as well. Unless there's something else that you wanted to add, Terry, or?
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It may look daunting, but reach out and people can help too.
All right, perfect. I believe that is all the questions. Any pending questions that we may have missed can be directed to d11.smallbusiness@dot.ca.gov. And I will give it back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Maisel. Okay, well, thank you, panelists, for being here today and allowing our audience to ask you so many questions. We really appreciate it. Such great information for those in attendance today. So thank you, and we'll go ahead and start closing out the session. So before we conclude today's event, I'd like to invite Maria back so that she can go ahead and give us some final words.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you for all our panelists. Have so much information. So I hope all the attendees had taken notes, and please save the information in the chat box. But again, thank you everyone who was able to join us today to hear from our district's guest speakers, as well as our construction and A&E primes. If this is your first time looking to do business with Caltrans or to move into government contracting, this firsthand advice is definitely something you should hold on to. So we hope to catch you all again tomorrow as we introduce the district's purchasers and provide their needs list of items they wish to procure, with quotes from vendors attending this fair. So I wanted to kind of go over who those purchasers are. From our district, we have our East Region Mountain Crews, we have Maintenance Region Resource, El Centro Travelway, Structural Steel Paint, Special Crews and Maintenance Support. We have our Electrical Crews, our Chula Vista Yard, Warehouse, Construction Division, and Kearney Mesa Maintenance Yard. So those folks are going to be on in our morning session. Now in our afternoon session, we have our Transportation Management Center, our TMC, Business Services, Design, Engineering, Corridors, Facilities, Resource Planning, Traffic Operations, and Surveys. So a lot of folks on our panel tomorrow. So I will be sending the registration link. So if you haven't registered, please click on the link and register for tomorrow's event. And once you close out this session, you will be prompted with our post-event survey. Please take time to fill this out. This allows us to improve our district's future events. Again, all resources discussed today by our panelists would be shared with those in attendance, along with the recording of the session. Give us some time. We'll send it to you after our event. Our event closes tomorrow. So in the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our small business team here at District 11 at d11.smallbusiness@dot.ca.gov. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you.